The principal task of the military is to maintain true faith and allegiance to the Republic by preparing to kill or die in its defense. While that statement appears to be severe, the central purpose of the military is to be an armed force. Welcome everyone. Today we'll be going over Dr. and Deacon James H. Toner's book, Truth, Faith, and Allegiance, The Burden of Military Ethics. For those that are inclined to business, Toner discusses how the uniqueness of the military profession creates a set of expectations of military conduct during military operations, how they should engage with enemy combatants and noncombatants, and the codes and traditions that history has shaped. Societies develop cultures through shared experiences, and those cultures develop norms that manifest in specific ways for its warfighters, the ethics that they must follow or be judged in violation. It is from the way that militaries develop their codes and ethics that businesses can learn to adapt. Since the consequences of warfare are naturally more severe than that of business ventures, businesses can still suffer from unethical behavior. Learning the ways in which warriors shape their traditions so that its people can act as moral agents under extreme duress of combat can, therefore, be quite useful to businesses. Toner will cover what makes the military profession different from that of others. He will discuss the nature of the United States military and its government, how to train ethical responses into your people, and how to shape their educational curriculum. It is a quick and easy read, and its greatest value is how to assess ethical quandaries and act accordingly. Perfect for decision makers. Toner identifies that social norms are for the betterment of society, and ethics becomes a tool to ensure that individual and group behavior doesn't work against them. He states, as a moral philosophy, ethics is about trying to separate right from wrong, honor from shame, virtue from vice. Ethics is used to harm those that work against the whole, and since humans are social creatures, we desire to fall in line lest we damage our reputation and socially ostracize ourselves. We feel it is right to support a norm, while it is wrong to violate it. We feel it is honorable to act at your own expense, while it is shameful to do it at the expense of others. We feel it is virtuous to impose self-control and reason behind our actions, while it is vicious to act uncontrollably or unreasonably. It is understandable that social creatures, like humans, would evolve to develop socially beneficial paradigms like this. That being said, Toner identifies 4 sources of ethics that we use to judge the action of others. It is important to note that ethical conduct normally is based upon a wise blending of customs, rules, outcomes, and circumstances. Blindly following the dictates of one source alone can lead to trouble. Whether an action is ethical or not is difficult to determine due to the many variables that go into the decision to act. With these 4 categories, we have a process to determine whether specific actions we could take are ethical by themselves. Customs. The unwritten rules that people within a profession follow. Failing to follow these won't result in civil or criminal punishments, but may cause damage to interpersonal relationships. In a people-oriented organization, like within the military or in a business, these relationships are important. Customs can include values that these organizations profess, and you may be blacklisted within their professional circles. Rules. Laws, regulations, codes, and anything stated that one must follow or suffer some form of punishment. Within the military, there are codes of conduct and unique laws applicable only to the armed forces, while civilian courts and federal agencies dictate their own laws and regulations. Outcomes. This very much relies on the ends justifying the means type of ethical assessment. A particular behavior or action may not violate a custom or a rule, but still be unethical if you foresee that the subsequent end is likely to be a net negative. For example, poor labor conditions overseas are commonplace in some countries, and it may be economically beneficial to outsource to those locations. Circumstances. Even if under normal circumstances something may be considered unethical, there could be extenuating circumstances that justify it. The law has what it calls extenuating circumstances, and this is what it refers to, that there are times that are so extraordinary that it would be understandable for an individual to break with customs, rules, and outcomes and not be adversely punished for it. By assessing an action or behavior against these 4 areas, we can begin to make a determination on its ethical value. If it doesn't violate the customs of our profession, its laws and regulations, if it provides a generally positive outcome, or the circumstances allow it, then it is ethical. Most of us are capable of assessing things in this light and do it naturally. At this point, there hasn't been much in the way that norms and ethics are established that is any different between human activities, war or business. So, what makes the military's norms and ethics different from that of businesses or any other endeavor? It should be obvious that it is the ways and means of the warrior's profession that shape what their social groups see as proper behavior. Toner, however, really emphasizes this in the following quote that was displayed prominently in the Profession of Arms Army White Paper published back in December 8, 2010.
The preeminent military task, and what separates the military profession from all other occupations, is that soldiers are routinely prepared to kill. In addition to killing and preparing to kill, the soldier has two other principal duties. Some soldiers die, and when they are not dying, they must be preparing to die.
So, it is from the simple addition of two critical aspects of their military profession, killing and dying, that shape how we regulate the conduct of their professionals. The remainder of the book expounds on this understanding, providing examples of ethical quandaries that service members have faced in the past, and judging them according to our understanding of how we should behave, given our unique norms and desired responses, so that our organizations can succeed in their mission. Sometimes this calls for sacrifice, and other times it calls for uncommon bravery and courage in the face of overwhelming pressures that aren't experienced in the private sector. But again, this is all because of these preeminent military tasks and duties that warriors of the state face. There have been other books that have discussed the importance of ethics in the conduct of business. There have also been many prominent business persons and managers that have made ethical considerations a part of their decision-making process. Truth, Faith, and Allegiance, however, provides a valuable perspective of ethics in action under extreme duress. Ethics is all well and good until you must decide whether to sacrifice your life on ethical principles, something that the conduct of warfare and military service may require. In the business world, you won't necessarily be under the same pressures as warfighters would be, but the temptation to take the easy wrong over the hard right can still be there. What Toner can provide to us is not what it takes to be an ethical soldier in combat, but a person that is able to see the bigger picture of the implications of our actions and a way to move forward even in times of great hardship. He will show how to look at an ethical quandary where extenuating circumstances may put us in a predicament and provide us a rational methodology for weighing what we should do and what we shouldn't. Not something that one will easily find in other books on ethics. Using Toner's 4 categories, customs, rules, outcomes, and circumstances, we can look at a particular situation, assess all the expectations that our profession would expect of us, and weigh our courses of action accordingly. For example, when looking to outsource work overseas or keep it in-country, you can use them to determine how others might judge you. Expounding on this example, customs. Outsourcing is a viable option, as other businesses have been able to do it, but recently it has come under increased scrutiny. First and foremost, it must be economically viable, as the purpose of all businesses is to make a profit. Your shareholders may expect for you to optimize profit by reducing expenditures, and outsourcing may do that, but what of local clients and customers who may be angered that jobs weren't offered to those in the community? You may have conflicting values here, in that you may not be able to optimize supporting your shareholders with supporting your communities. Rules. Outsourcing overseas is legal so long as no international laws or national laws are being violated in the process. Even if you outsource to an economically depressed country for cheap labor and their laws permit poor working conditions, it may violate certain international labor regulations which your own country, like the United States, supports. Additionally, you must be cautious that the management of overseas factories and suppliers are being held accountable, as even if your company doesn't have direct control over their operations, you may still be held responsible. You'll have to be prepared to support or defend yourself against your own nation's legal system, the international labor organizations, and host nation and municipal courts. It may just be easier in the long run to keep your assets at home. Outcomes. There is a reason why customs and rules get established, and they are the result of avoiding bad outcomes and promoting good ones, as far as the group is concerned. A hypothetical course of action, one in which we may not even be able to fathom until it occurs, may not violate any values or unwritten rules that customs would tell us are bad, and no laws or regulations are being broken. But the outcome has the potential of being so bad that your company becomes an example of what not to do, and who can be blamed for a new series of government regulations to come out. Even for yourself, just looking at the net positive or negative that you anticipate will result should be enough to tell you whether to move forward. Does increased profit offset the potential customer backlash of moving jobs overseas? Does keeping it stateside for fewer profits mean greater company recognition and increased patronization from happy customers overall? As long as profits are being made, which outcomes do you see as being the best in the long term? Circumstances. The mission of the military is to achieve their nation's strategic aims, and the mission of their warfighters to accomplish the objectives in which they are assigned. An objective of all businesses, as is their purpose, is to continue to make a profit. Failing to do so, even for a short time, may not be fatal, but it could be a death sentence that will eventually see the end of the company in the near future. As they say, desperate times call for desperate measures, and the potential bankruptcy or dissolving of the business would indeed be an extenuating circumstance. This category would simply be an assessment of the situation you and your company see itself in, and if violating one of the other categories would be justified for your survival. Depending on your business, massive layoffs and store closures may be an overwhelming net negative for both the long-term financial success of the company and the betrayal of any loyalty you had to your employees. But given the immediate extreme danger you may be forecasting, it could be understandable. What happens when you're judging courses of action to take, given these different categories, but all seem viable, or none of them seems to be a clear winner? Then Toner provides his next step in assessing courses of action in which you judge them based on principles, purpose, and people as the final determination for an ethical quandary. But I will leave that to you to discover when and if you decide to pick up this book. True Faith and Allegiance: The Burden of Military Ethics was a fabulous book and a relatively quick read. As a soldier in the United States Army, it taught me a lot about our philosophy of how we should act and carry out our mission while upholding the highest ethical standards my country expects of us. As a businessman, it has provided me a great rubric with which to judge all future business dealings, engagements with our company's agents and clients, and how to carry out any course of action in life. Understanding, in even the most basic terms, of why we have ethics and how we use it to shape the behaviors of others is a valuable tool. Some books on military studies make great resources, but are of limited scope. The scope of Toner's book, however, includes every single decision you may make in your life, and not just in the military and business spheres. Making evaluations quickly and holistically in the way that Toner provides the military can give you a sense of ethical righteousness. It gives you the confidence to move forward in any decision because you made the conscious effort to determine whether it was ethically acceptable at the time. Even if unforeseen variables end up working against your course of action, in failure, you can keep your chin up. A great book, and I would suggest adding it to your library. That being said, if you would like to buy the book, we've provided a link in the description. If you use the link, you'll help us out. Thank you very much.